game called
Ah,
Rising Up, and this was the part where you're in an elevator, and it was a glass elevator where you could throw enemies off from
right.
both ends and shit.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it's one of those games like where you could throw enemies down in pits and shit like that too, like through holes and all.
Hmm.
It adds up to your combo if you don't get hit, where it puts more damage to it, which is awesome. But I thought it was pretty cool because, yes, this was a new genre Streets of Rage was introduced to, because it
Right.
was mainly a lot of like house music and shit, like where it had like tracks that sound like this. I thought it would have been cool if they had Rikunasu, which happened to make the soundtracks for which happens to make his own music based off of games and anime and shit like that.
Welcome to Sin City.
I really wish they actually used this soundtrack though for the elevator theme. But I still like I still did like the synthwave one because the synthwave had like where it gave like chills because that's how cool it was.
Right.
But here's the one song that was by Streets of Rage where it was the first where it was the seventh stage where you were on an elevator and it was what they called the elevator of death by a lot of fans, where you could throw off enemies off of the elevator and knock them off. Uh, and pretty much it went up, I think, about 17, 20 stories up high. And this was the soundtrack because it had such a catchy beat and it sounded like this.
Nice.
But this is a remastered compared to like Genesis. I know it should have had that, but yeah, if you're gonna, but yeah, go ahead and watch like how that game plays. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, because I actually took a break from listening to like metal and then chill and like pretty much like boom bap, which is basically lo-fi hip hop, which really in reality it's actually called boom bap, which basically was made around that time. But yeah, this right here is a lot is awesome. And a lot of the game has a lot of influence to it too, where a lot of the soundtracks is. And the thing is that what I like about the soundtracks of like the Streets of Rage is that it was based off of like I watched the whole documentary of what was the whole thing about Streets of Rage, where basically a guy and his best friend were pretty much just only like partiers, and they
Hmm.
used to go to clubs a lot, and they loved going to clubs out in the western and like the western part of the world, which was in either Germany, America, Britain, Canada, and
Nice.
they actually liked that whole theme of like nightclubs and stuff, and they liked the whole part of like the streets and all. And they even went to risky parts of the area where it was loaded with gangs and stuff like that. And they had an idea where they said, wait, Why won't we go ahead though and replicate the music from like 90s dance clubs, which was house music, garage, acid, a little bit of like a hip hop break beat and stuff. Why won't we go ahead though and replicate that? They say. And once when we replicate it, why won't we go ahead though and actually probably make it sound good, make it sound awesome? So they ended up pretty much having the idea of making a game where you pretty much there's a boss at every level, but you're fighting a bunch of guys, a bunch of like crooks and criminals that are out on the street. But then most of the music they replicated from the 90s was stuff like from, if you ever heard of Black Box, have you ever heard of that woman, ever heard of Clearwater, Gypsy Woman?
Yeah, yeah.
That went dun, 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 dun,
Right.
dun, dun, dun. Yeah, that's like, you know that Streets of Rage song I showed you there? It was based off of that. Then, ever heard of Paul Hardcastle? Here, I'll show you in a minute. Yeah, here's this other one that, like, well, that's actually Streets of Rage, but Paul Hardcastle sounds like this. Pretty much like the here. This is like what was like new wave. Some people consider it new wave, some people consider it house, some people consider it, last but not least, jazz. And then here's this song right here, which is an art museum level. Can you hear it?
A little bit.
I have to say, this has to be one of my favorite tracks in the game.